Telecoms, MTN, and also the president of CAN. So that's all about our Chevening alumni. I'll be handing over to Boma to take on the next phase of this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Layo, and good evening, everyone. And thank you again for joining our webinar today. It's actually a delight to see everyone here. And I'll introduce myself again. My name is Boma Amieyeofori, and I'm the Chevening Program Officer for Lagos. And this evening, I'll be facilitating the panel discussion we have. And here we would have the opportunity to hear from our amazing panelists, where they'll be giving us insights as to how to make a good application and, you know, how to go about it as the Chevening season has started. But before we dive into that, we would like to meet some of our participants. So we have about 60 people on the call already. So before we start the panel session, we'll be asking 3 quick questions using Mentimeter. So Mentimeter is a tool that will enable us for you to provide answers to the questions that we'll be asking. So it's www.menti.com. It's already in the chat box. So if everyone can just go through the website now. And the link is 81506138. So that should give you access to be able to answer the question. I'll be sharing my screen shortly as well. Please give me a moment. Okay, so I'll be sharing my screen now. Please let me know if you're able to view my screen. Let's see. I see people already giving their comments. That's good. Yeah, so I mean, the first question we have here is that we would like to know where you're joining us from. We'll be doing that in the next 60 seconds. So please let us know where you're joining us from. If you're joining from Lagos, from Abuja, from Anambra, you know, just in one word, where are you joining us from? In 60 seconds. Okay. So we have about 30 more seconds. If you are yet to, you know, answer that question, just go to www.menti.com using this code on my screen. That's 81506138. We have more 20 seconds more, and we'll be moving to the next question. Okay. I see Kenya. Wow, that's good. So we're not just doing Nigeria. That's good. All right. So we have about 10 more seconds. If you are yet to put your answer on Mentimeter, please, you can still do so. Okay, yes, and that will be all. So as I can see, I think I can see that there is more Lagos and more Abuja. I mean, they're the big letters we'll have here, which is good. I mean, it's a good thing. But we'll also like to use this moment, you know, to highlight that one of Chevening's core values is diversity and inclusion. And I also think that this is a good opportunity for you to start demonstrating these values. And you can do that, you know, by reaching out to your colleagues, to your friends that you know this type of webinar will be very useful for, so you can let them know. And we're telling you to do this because we would really, really like to have a broader spectrum of participation across Nigeria. So Chevening is not a Lagos thing, it's not an Abuja thing, it cuts across Nigeria. So thank you. We'll be moving on to our second question, which will be showing on my screen. Yes, so this is about Chevening, and the question reads, how much do you know about Chevening? On a scale of 1 to 5, how much do you think you know about Chevening? 5 being the highest and 1 being the lowest. And again, I would like to say that, it's very important that you're sincere to yourself, because you carrying out this ranking will actually help you to identify how much prepared that you are. It will also help you to identify, additional next steps that you're supposed to take as you begin your Chevening journey. So let's be sincere. Yes, so I'm seeing that there is more of 4, which means that many people know about Chevening. That's interesting. That's good to know. But I mean, regardless, I'm sure everybody can see what is on my screen now, but regardless of what category you fall, be it 1, be it 2, 3, 4, 5, I just want you to know that, you've taken the right step to register for this webinar and to be here, and it's definitely going to be worth your time. And if you require more information about Chevening, you can visit the Chevening website, which we've already put in the chat box, the Zoom chat box, which is www.chevening.org. We've also posted 2 links from our webinar, 2 webinars that we've had in the past. So you should also try as much as possible to watch these videos. They'll be very useful for you in drafting your Chevening application. And finally, if you are not following our UK Nigeria page, you should do that right away. Yes, because once you're following our page, either on Facebook, on Instagram, or YouTube, you get more updates about Chevening, and you also get you get updates about what UK is doing in Nigeria. You know what UK's priorities are in Nigeria, and these are details that will help you in constructing your application when you are ready. And finally, the question that we have for the poll is this. So in one word, when you hear about Chevening, what comes to mind? So do you think about excellence? Do you think about leadership? Just in one word, what comes to mind? So we have 60 seconds for that also. You can use your word. It doesn't have to be my word because I'm seeing leadership here. Okay, network, that's good. Prestigious, yes, yes, yes. Let's keep it coming. So if you've not put your answer in the Mentimeter website, put in now. When you hear about Chevening, what comes to your mind? Possibilities, passion. I love these words. Learning, influence, which is good, which is good. Okay, so we have about 30 more seconds, before we wrap up this session. Okay, development, motivation. Okay, 10 more seconds. Ambition, growth, networking. World reach, I love that. World reach, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, yeah, so we'll just wrap it up as comments are still coming in. I can see all of these very inspiring words and, all of these beautiful words. And it's just really obvious that everybody would like to identify themselves with this type of words. Who doesn't want to be prestigious? Who doesn't want to be excellent? We all want to be. And I know that many of you have decided to join this call because you would like to get the Chevening Scholarship. So I want you to use all of these words that you're seeing on my screen as a form of motivation for yourself. And when I say motivation, my point is this webinar will be over in about 1.5 hours. And my advice to you is that, make the best use of the next, hour, because you're going to be hearing from experts, you're going to be hearing from people who have been in your position before. they'll be giving you their first-hand experiences. So please, if possible, take your notes, jot down ideas that you get when they start talking. And again, I'd like to say that this isn't the time to multitask. This isn't the time to multitask. Try to pay as much attention as possible. So that would be all for our poll questions, and I'll be going ahead with the panel discussion. I think that should lead us nicely into our panel discussion. So all together, aside the questions that we'll be getting from participants, we have 4 questions for our 4 amazing panelists, and I would like to say thank you again. Thank you, Gaya. Thank you, Faith. Thank you, Samirah. And thank you, Joshua, for doing this. We really appreciate you. It's a form of you giving back to your community, and we love that. That's what Chevening is about, giving back, learning, blessing other people with your talents and your skills. Thank you. So we'll start right away. And now I'll be handing over to Gaya first. And my question is, you've been in the position these people are in right now. Almost everybody joining this call. So how was your Chevening journey, your Chevening application journey rather? How was your experience? If you just like to share that detail with us in the next 3 minutes. Okay. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Boma. And let me start by saying it's an exclusive delight for me to be on this call with 68 amazing people, apart from panelists who are my colleagues here. Just you deciding to come here today shows that it's the right step in the right direction, and it's every 1,000 miles they say begin with the first step, and so it's already a sign of leadership. And you're coming to commit to hear from people. So my Chevening journey was a journey of 3 years. Okay, let me start by saying a journey of 3 years, and I had I started, my first attempt was in 2016. No, 2017. I tried again in 2018, and then 2019 was the 3rd time I tried, which was a magic year. Each of these years, for every year that I tried, it was not, of course, I didn't get it, but it was a learning curve. Okay, and I would say it was very tough. Every time that I got rejections, the first time, the second time again, and then of course I also thought again the third time I would get another rejection, but of course it came to pass. But the experience, I would say, for me was very comprehensive, because every year I tried, I kept trying. I discovered that I had not done something right, and then I had to go back to the drawing board. Going back to the drawing board meant that I had to look for help. Looking for help meant that I had to reach out to other persons who had gotten the scholarships in the past and understand what the nuances were, what I had to do better the next time, and then shoot again at it. Okay, so for me, I remained, the magic for me there was resilience, was determination and passion. At some point, my friends said I was a freak. What a freak mean? Freak means that you just don't, you are obsessed about something. Okay, so at some point in time, I was actually almost obsessed about Chevening, and I believed that it was possible. That was where it started, because a lot of people kept getting rejection. When I have a friend who got a rejection the first time and he didn't apply anymore, he said he can't believe that he didn't get the Chevening scholarship. How did that happen to him? He is a trailblazer. He is this, he is that, he's blah blah blah, and then he didn't get it, and then he just didn't do it anymore. And it doesn't work that way. Okay, the difference for you, and that is leadership that they are trying to test in you, is to keep at it and to keep saying that this thing is possible with the right mix of inputs. I will be able to get the best out of this. So for me, my resilience kept me going. I believed that it was possible. I developed thick skin to rejections, and I kept looking for help, and I kept trying. So for me, I would think it was as simple as that. The detail perhaps maybe will come in subsequent questions that will be asked. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Gaya. That was very explanatory. Thank you. So I'll be going over to Faith, but before then, I was going to mention that if you have any questions, this is directed to the audience. If you have any question, please put it in the chat box. We'll not be able to take all the questions, but we'll just try to take the few that we can here, and we'll be providing answers to your email addresses later after today. Yes, so Faith, can you share your experience? And, I would also like to add that aside your experience, Chevening has given everybody a 3-month window. And some people are like, oh, I have August, I have September, I have October. I can just chill now. I don't need to wait till I don't have to start now. So what do you recommend? So if you can just ship that in as you share your experience with us.
Okay, firstly, thank you for the honor to be speaking here today. It's really amazing. Just being here is actually nostalgic because remembering myself, I was in a seminar like this, I think last year or 2 years ago, an aspirant hoping to get the scholarship, and being here speaking to other people who I know that are going to get the scholarship is just amazing. So thank you for the honor. My children experience, I'll say that it's one of the most life-changing experiences ever, because it really helped me to develop myself in terms of self-belief, dedication, and resilience. So my children experience is actually in different phases, yeah. And I'm going to try and see how I can give tips to see how for people that are in those different stages. So the first time I saw the children application was 2018. And at that time, I had this mindset towards scholarships that they had a specific kind of people that they wanted to get, maybe people that are studying specific courses or people that were doing specific things. And I had interest in the creative industry, creative enterprise, media and communications. And so when I saw the scholarship, I was like, oh God, now this is just one of those scholarships. But then after going through it and seeing everything that was required, I saw the 2 years work experience, the different essays. And at first I was like, oh my God, this is a lot. It's so overwhelming. Do I have all of this? Can I do all of this? And that made me not even apply. And that's the first tip I want to give everybody. But if you think something is hard, it's going to be hard. But if you think something is easy, it's going to make the process easier. So don't come at this experience as something that is hard, because technically it's really not hard. Though it's going to stretch you and make you grow, but do not have that mindset of, oh God, this is overwhelming, because that was the first mindset I had. And then a year later, I remember seeing a post by a scholar, I think it was Tifesholoye. She got the Chevening Award for Media and Communications, and she talked about how she was able to get the award. And I was like, oh my God, you can actually study this kind of course. And that's one thing about Chevening. As long as you have a strong passion, you have you're really connected to your career path, and you have something you want to change. There's no typical scholar. So don't compare yourself to other people. Don't try to be like another scholar that's already existing. Don't try to change who you are to fit a narrative that you think, stay true to yourself. And so seeing that someone was able to get the scholarship for that particular course kind of motivated me. And so I started my application. The first time I was overconfident. So I felt like, oh, I'm just going to breeze through. It's going to be easy. I felt like I had the resume, I had everything. And then I worked by myself. I barely even did research. I was so sure of myself. I don't need to attend anything. I don't need to do anything. I'm going to get the scholarship. And then I did get longlisted, but then I got rejected. And it was so hard to deal with because I did not even see it coming. And I actually gave up in that moment. And I know there are people here that must have been rejected. And even for the fact that you're even here shows that you're resilient. And so I was like, oh God, I can't get this scholarship. It's so hard. Oh my God, this is difficult and all of that. And I remember when the application opened again, everyone around me, and that's why I would say that you should have a support system, maybe in your family, in your friends, people that believe in you, was like, oh, Faith, you need to try this again, apply for this scholarship. I think this is an opportunity for you, you will get it. And I feel like that was really the kind of the inspiration I needed. And so from the beginning, I would say, do not wait till the end. From the first day the application opened, the first thing I did was I wrote out everything that made me amazing. And then I went through the website. See, chevening.org has everything you need first. Like, I feel like the key to success is that website. Like everything I can think of, the essays, the application. So in the beginning, I consumed everything on the website as much as I could. I went on social media, I went on YouTube, I watched. This time around, I was not doing, I know everything is in my head. I did a lot of research. Webinars like this, I registered for them, I attended, I asked a lot of questions. I wasn't even scared or afraid. And then I started to write my essays over and over. I don't think you should wait till the last minute, because sometimes even a lot of people submit at the same time and it can affect IT issues. So I'll say from the beginning, just start writing, write everything that makes you amazing. Have extra eyes to read it. Even if you can't get a scholar, have friends around you to read it. That also helped me as well. And then join group chats, interact with people, but also be scared of false information as well. Because in this journey, you can have people tell you things like, oh, you can't get it. Oh, I heard this story, I heard that story. Chevening.org is the home for everything that you need. That's just what I would say. And anyways, the second time, everything with dedication, passion, a support system, and just writing and rewriting. And I also believe in the God factor as well, grace and prayer. And everything came together. And yeah, I remember the day I got the email, everyone around me was just screaming, dreams are valid, dreams are valid. Oh my God, Faith really wanted this and she got it, because just like Gaya, I was obsessed. Like if you're around me, you'd be like, it's okay. Can we not hear about Chevening again? But it was just a test of dreams are valid. So I don't know who is here, but as long as you can believe that you can get the scholarship, believe in yourself and be willing to do the work in terms of research, writing and rewriting and consuming information, and have a support system. And even if you don't get it the first time, or even if you've been rejected before, it doesn't mean that you can't get the scholarship, because I got rejected, but I'm here today. So do not let past rejections hold you back, and don't allow naysayers to convince you against trying out the scholarship. So yeah, that's the summary. I hope I covered the second part of your question as well.
Yeah, yes,
Okay,
you did very well. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we'll be moving to Joshua. Joshua, I would like to hear from you. How was your Chevening application experience?
So hi everyone. My name is Joshua, and it's such an honor to be here. I'd like to say thank you to the British High Commission in Abuja, of course, Chevening, who sort of have given me this opportunity, and of course with the likes of my colleagues, to be able to stand before you and just share my experience. I knew about Chevening maybe it's in 2017, but it took me 2 years to apply. Why did it take me 2 years to apply? Because I knew that I had to prepare myself before I put in an application, because sometimes I applied for Chevening once. It was my first time and I got selected. Right.
Nice.
So it's actually the first time I applied for Chevening, because I knew that, at that time, I was literally like, I had no clear direction as to where exactly I was going. My life was not in order, and it took me time, to be able to sit down and put my application together. What am I trying to communicate is, at that time, I had to learn the spirit of research, meaning that within the space of 2 years, I was collecting data and meeting with Chevening scholars, right? Meeting them, just trying to understand, what their life like, what they do. I'll go to some of their Instagram pages. I'll go stalk them just to find out how they were doing, right? That was because I was preparing myself for an opportunity that I wanted, right? It took me that long. Another thing that I did was curiosity. I feel like it is your biggest asset. You have Google, you have chevening.org, like Faith rightly said, it's your biggest asset. Sometimes it's like I'm studying. Why am I studying? Because there's something about when you read something, just like Big Brother Naija that we all watch, right? The more time you spend on it, you begin to know everyone's name, right? See that as your own professional and personal development. What are the things that you are concerned about? How much have you consumed of it? The more you consume of it, the more you become like it. It's the same thing as growing your belly fat, or adding weight, right? If you want to gain weight, people will tell you, oh, consume a lot of milk, consume X, Y, and Z, and you find out that in the long run, you tend to be like that. What am I trying to say was, like, what exactly am I trying to communicate? I'll just reiterate that for me, really, when it was time for me to apply, at that time I already knew people, so I easily just reached out to them and told them, oh, I'm ready to apply for Chevening, and they were willing to help me. And my essays were the most difficult and life-changing part of my life. I don't know if it's time I share that, but that 4 essays that you write, they are a very, very huge determining factor. If you lack career, you don't lack career direction. If you write your essays yourself, trust me, for the next 2 years, you would have a clear direction to where your head, to where your life is headed. So I just to wrap up quickly, I would just say that be very, very curious, get very, very inquisitive, try as much as possible to meet other Chevening scholars, ask them for help, tell them, oh, you are, just ask questions. And I believe that, you'll be on your right path to becoming a Chevening scholar. Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua. So before we move to Samirah, there's a question here, Joshua, that I would like you to answer. And it reads like this. It says, I am a photographer and a cinematographer by profession and a graduate of physics from Abuja. Please, I'm a bit not sure on which course to apply for my master's. Will I stand a better chance on media and communication or better still master's in physics related courses?
Okay.
So,
Yeah, thank you very much. I don't think you can reinvent the wheel. Chevening mirrors your trajectory over time, meaning that you cannot manufacture what you don't have, right? If you are studying physics, right, I would believe that if you're writing your Chevening essays, you need to be able to connect how your background in physics relates to your master's development course that you're going to do in the UK. Even if you are going to write your personal statements in the UK or for the schools that you're applying to, you need to be able to connect the nexus between what you're currently, like what the masters that you intend to go study in the UK, you need to be able to connect it to your undergraduate studies, right? So I believe that Chevening has the possibility of you pivoting from, I did a background in geography and planning, but I'm currently doing a master's in poverty and development. It was easy for me to make that career connection because I'd done a bit of social sciences. And of course, I was already running a nonprofit in Nigeria. So it was easy for me to connect all of that to go study for a master's in poverty and development. And I would also want you to say that there are 8,000 young people like yourself that are also trying to do the same thing. So you don't have that time where you're not clear concerning what you want to do, right? So meaning that if you want to go into it, you have to go heads on, right? Go heads on. If you want to chase physics, if you know that physics will give you a higher chance of being selected for Chevening, and you have the experience, you have the work experience, you are able to connect your undergrad with your future career, and you feel like it gives you the strongest points, I think you should go for that. And I think just to give you insights, one thing that I think a lot of us are not considering will be, communications or photography for development, which is what is a course at the University of Success, media practice and development. So there's also something for you like that. So whether you're a photographer, whether you want to do furniture, whether you want to do business development, whether you want to probably pursue fashion, there's a link that I'm going to share on the group. Check that and see if you can find courses that will be relevant for you in chasing your studies in the UK. Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua. That was really insightful, and I really hope that answers the person's question. So we'll be moving on to our next panelist, Samirah. Please, can you share your Chevening application experience and your journey altogether? How did it go?
Thank you very much. My journey is a little bit similar to some persons here. Let's see. I applied for Chevening the first time in 2019. Yeah, So 2018. I don't know the years because it's usually long years to get Chevening. So like a year before I got Chevening, I applied. And when I applied, I knew I was not going to get it. I just knew. Because I told myself that if I had gotten it, then that means it's very easy to get Chevening because I had not had so much experience or so much leadership or so much things that I feel that will make me stand out of thousands of people. But I still applied because if I want something, I usually apply to test the water and see, so that if I don't get it, I know that, oh, okay, I didn't get it. Then next year when I'm applying again, I go back to what I've written before and add to it. So I usually develop myself when I apply for something, when I want something. So that was how I applied for it. The next year, I almost didn't apply because I felt maybe I was not qualified enough or something. And it was my friends that were pushing me to apply for it. Every time they meet me, they were like, the application has opened, have you started? And I'm like, no. I'm like, go and apply. I'm like, I don't want to. why do you think, like, so it was my friends that actually pushed me to apply for it. In fact, they pushed me to apply for scholarships. And the lucky thing was it was only Chevening I applied for as a scholarship. And I then applied for, I think, the school I wanted to go to, IDS, their scholarship. But eventually I didn't give it because I already knew that I got Chevening. So that's my application process. And then the experience in total was, how I put it, I guess for me, applying for Chevening is, although I applied in 2020 with all my heart, it has been a cumulative years of gathering of experience to that point, right? It's not like I woke up one morning and decided that, oh, put in your application and getting it in. No, it was like a continuous effort of continuous years of saying, what do I need to get a scholarship? I wanted to do a master's, but I didn't want to do my master's in Nigeria, not because of anything, but because the course I wanted to do was not in Nigeria. And I told myself, okay, I was going to do my master's abroad, but I needed things to be able to make it possible. And years of experience of volunteering, of doing so many things led me to the point of applying in 2020 and getting it. So it was years of experience that gathered to do that. And it was also years of experience of applying to other applications, because the more you apply, even if you're what's called, even if I knew that maybe I didn't want them or I wanted them, it was just me piling in my writing skills in one place and editing them for what I wanted. So that's my experience of applying for Chevening. Sorry, what was the second question? uh,
Yeah, it's about the period to apply, because I know most people tend to procrastinate. So, we just wanted to let people know the right time to start applying. So what are your recommendations?
Okay, the right time to start applying for Chevening is before the application opens. Because the questions don't change. But you think it's easy, is actually not easy. I feel Chevening application is the easiest application to ever get to, but it's also the toughest application to ever get into. So the reason being that the application process is easy. You may think writing, if you cannot write 500 words, then you're not ready for a master's. So if writing the application is easy, what makes it hard is you're competing against 8,000 people within your country. So what makes it hard is what makes you stand out. So you keep asking yourself, even before the application comes in, if you want to, if you want to apply for Chevening, or you're interested in applying for Chevening, you know the 4 questions. If you do something, or you purposely do something just for that question, it's about getting your, for example, if last year you applied for Chevening and you knew that you didn't have a good example of a networking question, but already learned that networking takes this. So you purposely do that in order to be able to fit into that question. So you need to start applying beforehand, but it's never too late if you feel that, what's the word? Even if it's 1 week, you must be a very master writer. Well, even if it's 1 week to apply, but the thing is, you start applying for Chevening, what's it called? Immediately it happens or before it happens, because it's all about the 4 questions. What makes you stand out? It's not just about writing, it's about what makes you stand out. And you need to first find find yourself. Like the person that asks, do I want to do a physics or a, what's it called? Photography. The question is, what do you want? What do you see? Where do you see yourself in the next 20 years? Where do you see yourself in the next 10 years? Will I love doing photography, or will I want to be a physician? So that also leads to the passion you put in your question, because it takes your answer. You may give one example, but the reader who is marking it can feel the passion for that course you want to go for. So it takes time for you to put in your application. It takes time for you to tell your story. It takes time for you to write your passion. And it also takes time for you to know what you want. Because, for example, me, I studied mass communication, but I've never used my degree. People used to say, when I said I've never used my degree, they'll say, well, you're communicating. I've never used my degree, but I knew that I wanted to be in the business space, but not just in the business space. I wanted to be in business development space, not just business as usual of making money, but business as development agent. And then for me to want to do that, I needed to build that track record for that. And I needed to do that in order to be able to come and study what I wanted to study, which is globalization, business, and development. I studied mass communication, and I want to apply for Chevening. I will not just say because I studied mass communication, I will put in, what's it called? Media arts. I would regret it in the future. I think I'm going to waste 1 year in the UK during it, or I will just turn it as holiday. So you need to put all those things in perspective so that you can put in a good application. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Samirah. Thank you. So I think that will be all for the first question. We'll be proceeding to the second question. So I would like to say that if you've not been paying attention before now, I believe this second question is very, very important. So please try to, be active as you listen to this question. And, this question touches on the criteria for Chevening. As some of our panelists have said before, there are 4 criteria for Chevening. The first is leadership and influencing. The second is studying in the UK. The third is networking. And the fourth is career plan. So, we'll be picking all of them individually. And I'd like to start with leadership and influencing. Joshua, please, you'll be helping us with this. So how do you think applicants can, infuse leadership and influencing when they're, writing their application? How can they display this in writing their application? So, you can even give us examples, anything that comes to mind. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I'll try and see if I can pull up just a paragraph for my Chevening essays, intellectual property. So I can't share everything. Yeah, I'll try and see if I can pull up a paragraph for my Chevening essay. So I think my leadership experience pretty much was very, very interconnected. And I'm sure that for some of us that probably might have attended a lot of scholarship seminars, you probably would have heard of the STAR approach, right? The STAR approach of how you sort of like answer questions. So I'll just try and put that in the chat, right? And why do you use the STAR approach? You use the STAR approach to sort of like give your reviewer an idea of where you're coming from and where you're headed, right? So I think the S is for situation, right? The T is for what? Task, and A is for what? Action, and R is for results, right? And why do you do that? So for someone like me that was very, very interested in, exploring, issues around poverty, so this is exactly how I started my essay. Nigeria continues to experience extreme poverty, with nearly 80% of its 190 million population living on less than 1.7 pound a day. Now, why did I convert to 1.7 pound a day? That was the World Bank statistics. But because I knew that I was applying for a scholarship in the UK, what did I do? I did the maths and I automatically converted it to pound. Meaning that if you're applying for a scholarship in the UK, don't also forget that their language also matters. Meaning that there's British English and there's American English. So if you are applying for a scholarship in the UK and I'm seeing you writing American English and I'm a British person, I might feel like you don't have an understanding of the space you're coming into, just to point that out. So I now went forward to say, the root of poverty lies in the deprivation that people face with limited access to necessities such as food, healthcare, sanitation, education, etc. In the last 2 years, the DFID then in Nigeria has invested, 455 million euros and 455 million pounds towards tackling poverty-related issues in Nigeria. Now, bearing in mind that what I did was I gave statistics of what exactly was like the situation on ground. Then I now moved into what exactly I, Joshua Okoduwa, have been doing in order to support what the DFID then was doing. Now it's now the FCDO. So just to answer your question on leadership, I feel like you need to be able to give a case scenario as to what exactly is happening on ground. Now, leadership means, what are you doing? Like, how are you leading from the front? Meaning that I see that there's a problem and this is what I am doing to solve the problem. So whether it's in the space of marketing, whether it's in the space of media, whether it's in the space of politics, whether it's in the sphere of government, tackling technology, you have to be able to give a case scenario as to what exactly is happening in your space. Then you now put yourself as, oh, my name is Folorunsho Alakija. This is what I have been doing in order to solve this problem. So that was how I was able to address the question on leadership. And because I already had the track record of running an organization, it sort of like gave me a platform to be able to do this. Bear it in mind that you don't need to have an organization to be able to apply for Chevening. I feel like it is a very, very big misconception. John Ogunjimi, who is currently a Nigerian Chevening scholar, is a lecturer in a Nigerian university. There were some people, thank God Igbo, who currently was working at Sterling Bank and he applied for Chevening, right? So there are many other examples of people who have been in the private and public sector. I think Feromi was also working for Unilever at that time when he applied for Chevening. So I feel like you just need to be able to use where you are. What is the market? What is the problem? And what exactly have you been doing to solve that problem? I think that's how I was able to answer my leadership question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joshua. That, I really like the example of you stating the fact that you don't have to, own an organization. And, sometimes when they talk about facts about leadership, it might sound cliche, but it's the truth. When people say stuff like, you don't have to be in a managerial position for you to, to show leadership qualities. It's very, very true. No matter how small your space is, no matter how small your community is, you can still make a change and you can still show those leadership qualities. So thank you once again. And we'll be moving to networking, and I would like Faith to answer this question for us. So in terms of networking, what do you think? How do you think that, intending applicants can display this in their Chevening application? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I'll say that one mistake that I've seen that a lot of people make with the networking aspect of the essay is they see it more as a demonstration of who they know, what organization they're a part of, how they've just been meeting people, but they don't see that the networking is actually a little related to the leadership. And I believe that the networking question is, how are you able to collaborate with people? How are you able to build relationship with people to achieve something? So if you just say, oh, I know the owner of this organization, or I went to this event and I met this person, or oh, I've connected with people on social media, and you don't show the effect that meeting these people had on a community or in the lives of people, then I don't see that as networking. So just like Joshua has done, I'll try and pick up an example in my essay. Okay, so in my leadership, that's one thing I also want to point out. I believe that throughout all your essays and everything you're going to do, I feel like the passion you have for a particular industry or a particular solution, I feel like you should try and reflect it throughout all of the essays. From the beginning, let them try to see who you are, where you're heading to. So in my leadership, I talked about how I started up this platform. I use social media to bring awareness to things. That's also another example of leadership. And how I was through that, I was able to organize an event and get people together. In the networking, what I did was to show how I brought people on board to do this. So I talked about how I went for a boot camp and I met the founder of the organization. And I just did not stop there as, oh, I know the woman and yeah, I have good networking skills. No, I talked about how I gave value to her, because networking is not just a parasitic relationship. It's how are you giving value to these people? How are you helping them in their own projects? How are you collaborating with them? How are you giving them value? And then through that relationship, how have they now helped you to do something? So through meeting that woman, I was able to get a venue for free through the support of the Lagos State Ministry of Youth and Social Development. And so they could see that I'm not just picking up contacts, I'm not just meeting up people, but I'm doing something in my community. So I believe that in your networking, try and diversify your examples. So there are many ways to network. It's not just, oh, social media. Also think about maybe going for events, colleagues as well, people you're meeting in different capacities. And then don't just stop at, oh, I know this person, or I'm part of this organization, or I'm part of this group, but I have been adding value to them. And I'm also, and through this value I added to them and value they've added to my life, I was able to touch the lives of people. And I gave figures of even the results of the things we have done together as well. And also talk about how through Chevening, you're going to continue this, because everything you say, you have to end it with Chevening. So given this background of all the things you've done in the past, what do you want to do in Chevening? What are you going to do? Because the Chevening network is amazing, over 50,000 amazing people. While you're in the UK, how are you going to network? When you're back, how are you going to network? What ideas do you have? I feel like if you can demonstrate these different things in your networking essay as well, it would really go a long way. So yeah.
Thank you, Faith. And it's something I was going to mention. Chevening takes networking very seriously, because we're looking for professionals who are able to, who have strong interpersonal skills and who are able to, add that interpersonal skills that they have to grow the Chevening community, to improve the UK-Nigeria brand. Because that's the reason why UK is in Nigeria. We want to promote that relationship, and we expect that Chevening scholars like you are able to do that. So thank you once again, Faith. So I'll be moving on to Samirah. Samirah, please, you'll be helping us with the studying in the UK bit. So how do you advise, or how do you think applicants can display studying in the UK very well in their application?
Okay, for studying in the UK, that's a question that many people think it's easy, but it needs to be answered strategically, because you need to be able to answer you need to first, before answering that question, studying in the UK, you need to first research what 3 courses, and either 3 different courses, 3 similar courses, 3 the same course, 3 different universities, anyhow you want to choose it. You need to first answer what 3 courses and what 3 universities you want to attend. Now, before you do that, you need to first ask yourself, what university do I want? What university do I have the, what's it called? What will I use? Do I have the qualifications for? What university is top ranked that I think I can get in? And what course do I want to study? Because that also answers what you want to do in your future. Because I used to always say, think about the future of works. In the next 20 years, will this course still be relevant? Whatever I learned now, will it still be relevant in the next 5 years? And is this something that is unique enough in my field? If, for example, you are in the, let's say you're in the health space. I know for masters, you have, if you're, let me say, for example, you're a medical doctor. I know most of the things that people want to go for is the MPH, they call it, Masters in Public Health. But the question you need to ask yourself is that really the course you want to go for in the health space? Like, is that really, really unique for something that you really want to do? What other things within the health space or within as a medical doctor in your field would you really want to know? So for example, if you're what's it called, a child doctor, I don't know what they call it, a child doctor, you ask yourself, rather than going for MPH, you go for a course that is related to maybe child health, child psychology or something. What I'm just trying to say, for you to answer that question, you need to first think about all these things first, and then write it down, put your, what's it called? Put your list. For example, me, when I was going for my course, I just knew I wanted to do a course that had a global international angle, a business angle, and a development angle. I never even knew that there was a course called Globalization, Business and Development. I never knew. I just knew I needed something that had the 3 combined, and I wrote it down. And I asked myself, what degree did I graduate with? Did I graduate with 218, I knew that I didn't graduate to the first class, and I didn't want to stress myself too much for an Ivy League school. So I removed them from my list, right? And I went to the next set of high-ranked schools that are there. Do you get? And I said, okay, can my certificates and my this thing get me into this school? Now, yes or no? And then I started researching. Personally, I didn't want to write IELTS. So I started look for school that did not have IELTS and all those kind of things. I don't like writing the examination. So these kind of things need to really set it down, and you write it down, and then you take your time to start researching. And then after you finish researching, when you're answering those questions, answer those 3 different choices separately. Start with your first choice. If my first choice, let me say, for example, my first choice, although it was not my first choice, I changed it, but my first choice, let's say, for example, University of Success, Masters in Globalization Business Development. Why did I choose this course? I write the name of the course. I write the name of the university. You first start with what are your future, it's just a summary of what your future goals are, and then you link it to why the course, right? So you then start with the first one. Why did I choose this course? Why this university? Is it because the university is top rank, or is it because of a lecturer I really want to learn from, or is it because of what's the word? Something that is attracting me to that school? And then for my course, why did I choose this course out of all the courses? Is it because is it for my future goals? Is it for anything? And then when you finish with that first one, you move to the next one separately. Why did you choose this one? Why this course? The same thing. I go to the third one. Now, if you're choosing one course, one exact course, so for example, globalization, business, and development, but 3 different universities, you can just explain why the course, and then explain why those universities separately, because different universities have different unique things for them. Even if they are doing the same course, there's something that is always unique, that is different in all of them. So for example, in my course is in University of, forgotten the name of the university, but the difference between where I'm studying and that other university was they were doing an internship or something. But although I would have gone for that university that had an internship, I chose my own school because of its better ranked than that school. So it depends on why you're choosing it. Do you get? And then when you finish explaining the 3 different separately or together, depending on how are you choosing it. If it's one university you're going to choose, explain why that one university, but you have to have 3 different courses, then you can explain why those 3 different courses separately. It could be anything. It could be a lecturer, it could be a particular course module, it could be the environment, it could be something. It could be somebody that's studied from that school and is doing great. It could be because of somebody that in your field that you feel that this is your mentor and is doing great and did that course and you want to follow that footstep. It could be anything. And then you end that place with why UK in general. Why are you going to study in the UK? Out of all the scholarships in the world, out of all the universities in the world, why UK and why Chevening? Why are you choosing it particularly? Because it's not just about the course, it's about the extracurricular, like put it, activities that are attached to you studying that course. And I think that's best way to answer that question.
Thank you. Thank you, Samirah. That was very, it was insightful. Thank you. So before we move to Gaya, who would be giving us some tips on the career plan bit, Layo would like to read out a question for us. Layo, over to you, please.
Okay, yes. So there's a question from Abdul Kadir. The question is, can any of the scholars explain all that revolves around getting the university offer first and then the Chevening scholarship?
I can take that.
Okay, Joshua is going to answer that. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think that you have to be able to apply for schools as early as possible, right? It's not about in the number of schools that you get conditional letters from, right? You could get 50 conditional letters, but all that Chevening is requiring from you is your unconditional letter, right? So meaning that you should aim to get an unconditional letter, which would not be required of you until your scholarship has been confirmed, where I think it's the first email that says you've been conditionally selected. So usually with the time frame that is required for you to be able to submit your unconditional letter, it's usually in July, where your program officers will be, where your program officers from the UK, will be, contacting you. So I believe that start early, like start very, very early to get your unconditional letters. I lost an opportunity at the London School of Economics because I applied very late. So I didn't even get into the stage of even getting a conditional letter, how much more an unconditional letter. So I believe now is the peak time for you to start, applying. Maybe now the schools might be very, very busy, but somewhere around maybe after September, October, when people have studied, between November and maybe December or January, you have, staff will be more free, so you can use that. And the trick is email your schools. There's no school in the UK right now that you can't email. Email them, they will give you a response. Ask them questions, they will just try it, just for fancy. Just say, oh, my name is XXYZ. I'm interested in MSc. They will give you options. They will tell you, they will email you so well. And I think that will even encourage you to want to apply. Don't email Nigerian schools. So, yeah, but what I'm just trying to say is please try as much as possible to apply for your schools as early as possible. Like Samirah rightly said, some schools require IELTS, some schools don't require IELTS. For University of Manchester that I got an offer for, I had to write an English proficiency exam before I got my conditional letter. So I think just try as much as possible to apply early. Thank you.
Joshua, that was spot on. And, in addition to what he said, I'd just like to mention that deadline is deadline. When you see 10th of July, don't wait until, say, 5th of July. Start planning now. I mean, 3 months is a long time. So start planning now, start your applications, and so not just to schools, I mean, also the achievement application. So I'll be moving to Gaya now. Gaya, can you share what you think about the career plan and how they can display this in their Chevening Scholarship application?
Thank you so much, Boma, and to my other fellow panelists so far for the insightful conversation. I also learned so much along the way as well, even though I'm a scholar. So, but even though I'm speaking about the fourth part of the essay, there's something that is very critical that ties up all these essays together, and it starts to show actually, maybe not at the leadership stage or in the talking part of the essays, but when you start talking about the schools you want to attend and then at the same time your career path, there has to be a pitch. And what I mean by pitch is, if for example you say you are coming to the UK to study public health, or you're coming to the UK to study something around media or something around, think about, and always remember that the UK has development priority areas. And so you always have to think about, you have to go and look up those things. There are about 7 areas. So somebody like, for example, wanted to come and study, he said, fly aeronautic engineering or something like that. So I don't think those kind of things cover the development priorities of the UK. So always have that at the back of your mind. Things that are where the UK has interest. It's very pertinent that you see those things. So what I'm trying to say is that, for example, somebody says, for example, I want to go to the UK. When you ask him to do what, or ask her to do what, she says public health, but it's not enough. You have to have a pitch, something that is something that is really passionate about in public health. For example, I'm speaking from my own perspective. Is public health, is it epidemiology in public health? What is the problem that you have seen that you want to solve with public health? Let's take it from that perspective. First of all, there has to be a fitting problem, something that is really bothering you. Is it maternal mortality? Is it child mortality? Is it access to drugs? Is it the policies that are weak in Nigeria? Is it the surveillance that is just generally not functioning? What is this problem in public health? And if you don't have that pitch, you are going to be all over the place, and you're not going to, and your submission is going to be very weak. So first of all, you have to identify that pitch. So for me, for example, it was health financing, and all these things I mentioned are under the umbrella of public health, general or global health. And so for me, it was health financing, and health financing was a problem because in Nigeria, I kept looking at it. What is the problem? Doctors are not being paid. Nurses are not being paid well. There is no hospital equipment. But there are so many problems. What is the problem? Because there is no money. Doctors are on strike as we are speaking today. It's because of what? It's because of money. So these issues for me were very bothersome. I kept thinking about it, and I started to make a narrative around it. And that was the magic for me. There has to be a elevator, something that is very central to you. Now, coming to the fourth part of the essay, like I said, it's going to guide you to even answer the third part of the essay about schools. And then when you come to the fourth part talking about career, what I usually say is to people is have like 3 paragraphs. The first paragraph should be a very nice introduction as to, for example, what your pitch is. And so it's just going to be a brief 5 sentences. For example, I talked about how, for example, in Nigeria, only 5% of the total population of Nigerians are covered by health insurance, out of just 5%, and most of those people are in the formal sector. So about 95% of people cannot seek healthcare without going to poverty, for example. This is a problem. And so when anybody who is reading that paragraph, that essay, will be very interested. So, okay, this is an issue. Let me continue seeing what it's talking about. And then in the next paragraph, you now talk about your short-term goal. So in your career plan, always has to reflect your trajectory. You have to guide the reader to tell him what you want to do immediately you come back to Nigeria. I mean, after finishing from the UK, and then maybe in the midterm or now in the long term, what you want to do. And they want to see somebody who has already a trajectory, like I said, and plug into it. You want to see that you are thinking you are thinking ahead, or you are thinking 10 years ahead, 15 years ahead, even though, I mean, plans change, but you should have a direction where you are going to, and they want people who have a direction. Okay, so coming back immediately to Nigeria, you want to apply. Now you have skills, you have a network, you have knowledge. How are you going to put those things to practice? And that's what they want to hear in the short term. And so you have to be very, very, very specific. You cannot just say, I'm going to come back in the short term and I'll just come back and then start up something or something like that. And it's just very vague. Most times people are vague here because they don't really have, like I said, that pitch. They don't have something they are really, really passionate. They have identified what they are passionate about. You have to know that thing. And then when you come back in the short term, the easiest thing, what I tell people is, okay, if you are working before, why don't you go back to that place you were working before, for example, and maybe at a higher position, and say, this is what I want to do with the skills and knowledge, and possibly say the kind of number of people this is likely to impact. So, for example, I said I wanted to come back to Nigeria, for example, and through, in the short term, hit the ground running. Through development banks, I wanted to micro lend, get a fund, okay, for micro lending to private investors who wanted to start private practice, blah blah blah, and basically it was going to impact people who were in informal sector who didn't have access to primary healthcare services. Something, it has to be very specific. And then you can also talk about, for example, talking about stuff like research, like what you have done in the UK, what your thesis topic was, for example. How are you going to bring that back and then translate it? And those things can maybe perhaps influence policy that will now turn out, and influence policy, and at the end of the day, it can turn out to be tangible results. Okay, and then in the midterm, so you also have to be speaking very specifically. So in the short term, what do you mean by short term? Okay, it has to be maybe in the next 3-4 years. Okay, so maybe if I come back in 2022, from 2022 to 2023 or 2024, I'm thinking about doing X, Y, Z things, like I said, very specific with metrics, thinking of how many people it might impact. And then in the midterm, from 2023, I think up to 2025, I'll be hoping to do X, Y. Some people say, okay, they want to maybe have an extra certificate, blah, but try to be very specific as to what you can do with the skills and knowledge you have gotten from that particular subject area in the UK. You will have grown in network. Perhaps you want to rise in your in service or whatever, or you want to do a startup, and the startup, you have to be specific about those things. So these things have to be clear in your head. And then in the long term, it's okay, maybe by 2030, this is where I want to be. Perhaps you want to now be maybe in parliament, you want to be in policy making positions, you want to be, and you have to be, of course, be very ambitious. For example, I said I wanted to be the Director General of the WHO. Yes. Why is it not? Why is it's possible? Why is it not possible? And these are the kind of things they want to see. Of course, you have to be realistic, but you have to be very ambitious at the same time. And then as you speak to all those short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals, your team has to be playing out in those areas, because like I said, you can't just be all over the place. And I said, what I said, for example, myself, was that in the long term, I want to be in parliament. And if I'm in parliament, for example, I can be on, for example, the health committee in the National Assembly, where I can influence how much money goes to healthcare. I can influence the budget. For example, now we only have 4% of the budget going to healthcare. if I'm in parliament, for example, I'm sitting on the health committee, I can influence budget to go up to 10%. What it means is that there's more money for health, there's improved health outcomes, blah, blah, blah. So stuff like that, you have to be very, very daring. Okay. And for me, it can take many forms. Okay. But for me, my advice is know what you are passionate about. Identify specifically what you're passionate about, and then in the short term, what you want to do specifically, you have to be very, the keywords there are identify the pitch point, identify a pitch, and you have to be specific, okay, and hit the nail on the head, and use metrics to always reflect that what kind of impact you are going to make. I think this is much I have. I don't know if you have any other questions. I will be very glad to answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gaya. That was very good. So I mean, as we've all heard from Gaya, it's very important that you have a clear post-study plan when you come back, or even before you come back, have a clear plan. As you said, short-term goals, long-term goals, and mid-term goals. So that is all for that question. We'll be taking the next question. This question is very interesting, and it's just amazing how we are different. We have different looks, we have different approaches to how we solve situations, and I'm sure you also have different Chevening journeys, as you mentioned in the beginning. But what I would really like to hear from everyone here is what do you think you did differently? I mean, Guy already mentioned that he applied 3 times, same thing with Samirah. So what do you think you did differently? What do you think you did the time that you got chosen that made your application stand out? So I'm going to be handing over to Samirah to take this question.
Okay, I applied once before this one.
Sorry. Okay.
What I did differently. I keep asking myself, what did I do differently? I guess what I did differently was I told my story. For everything, I believe that for everything one writes is always a story. Question is, how do you tell your story? And when you're telling your story, how does your story fit in to the narrative? And how does your story what is it called? How does your story stand out of thousands of stories? For Chevening, it's so unique that you can graduate from university today and get Chevening, and you can be in the working sector for 20 years, 30 years, and get Chevening with the same person that just graduated. What's it called? Recently. So it doesn't matter. Even if it doesn't matter whether you're the CEO of what trending company when I call in Nigeria, or you're just a university graduate who has just done an internship. The question is your story. And my story was what's it called? My story was a story path of development and business in the agri space, right? And what made me different was I can say that how will I put it? I started building my story right from right from my university days, right from my first year in university, right? And when I'm telling my story, I always tell it from that side. I started building my story right from my university days. What made my application process different from the time I didn't get it to the time I got it was my career path. My career path was in the business space, like I said, and I was working as a commercial and business analyst, right? I was already heading some team members. I was and my future career goal is really big. I don't dream small. Like Gaya said, you can be the head of anything. My own was that I want to own my own, what's it called? my own incubation hub, right, in the future. So I think that's what makes it different. Where are you coming from or where are you going? Like, you need to dream, for Chevening, you need to dream as big but realistic. Big but realistic. So my story was something that I'm coming from. I have been building it, I've been building it right from university, and then it has been the same line I've been following, right? I've been doing my development work since from university. And then after I graduate, I went for my development work. And when I went to the business space, I was not just doing pure business, I was doing business development. So my story and what am I going to do in the future is going to be still business and development. So I think that was what made me unique. I started from somewhere, I'm going somewhere, and I'm heading somewhere. And I guess I needed Chevening, the masters, to get me to where I want to go. And I think that story sold well. I guess that was it.
Thank you, Samirah. I'll be moving to Joshua now. So please, what do you think you did differently during your time?
So I know that this is a very, very official setting, but I would like to sing a very simple song. Everybody blow your trumpet. Blow your trumpet. Everybody blow your trumpet. Guys, like, this is the truth, really. Samirah said it all. Blow your trumpet. It's your no one is going to sell you. Nobody's going to sell you for yourself. Like, no one, right? No one is going to do that for you. You have to be able to choose, how are you showing up? Like, how do you want people to perceive you? Right? It is a human that will read your essay. Any textbook that is written in the world, it was because it was designed for somebody to read it. It's the same thing with your scholarship essays or the opportunities they're applying for. It is a human that is behind the screen, right? People are interested in connections. People are interested in feelings. People want to know you, right? It's so exciting that there are some people that they haven't met you before, but because they've read your essay, they want to meet you. Why? Because there's a perception that you have given them. So the question is, how do you want people to see you behind? It's like a book, right? It's like a 2000 guidebook, and it's your pitch, like Gaya rightly said. How do you want to tell your story? And I believe that for me, really, I just decided that at that time, I was not going to be humble about my accomplishments. I was not going to be humble about my future aspirations. I was not going to be humble about anything. All I needed to do was, I was going to sell myself. I was going to pitch myself. And trust me, I wasn't lying. I wasn't lying, but I cried when I was writing my Chevening essays. And I'll tell you why I cried. Because I saw the so much potentials and results that I've done that I never acknowledged, which is why you need to do your things yourself, because it sends you into a reflective space where you can look back and imagine, wow, so I myself, I have done all these things. It is when I realized that, wow, I've actually done all these things, and these are the opportunities that are available for me. So I decided to look back, look at where I am and where I'm headed, and that's what Chevening did for me. Chevening gave me an opportunity to look inwards. It showed me of what my future could look like, and Chevening is funding me to that future. And even now that I'm in the UK, right, where I was when I left Nigeria is not the same space that I am now. The network or the essays that I wrote about my future career projections, it has changed times maybe X5, right? I'm just there, like, there's possibilities. There are so many possibilities that you can do, which is why do your work yourself. Like, tell your story, and I just really hope that it goes well for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua. That was inspiring. Thank you. Gaya, would you like to share your experience? What do you think you did differently?
Okay, so thank you very much again to Joshua and everyone. For me, I think what I did differently, first of all, for me, I am very, very inspired. Okay. There's every day I wake up in the morning from my bed, there's something that I am looking forward to, and I keep telling myself this is possible. And I always remember the words of Nelson Mandela, okay, when he left prison, and he said, it always seems impossible until it is done. It's so, first of all, it was a mindset for me. Okay, like I stated earlier, it was just that mindset for me that kept me going. And to me, there is something that is possible in this thing. If people are getting it, why not me? And what I did differently was to identify that pitch. For me, that pitch was the magic. If you are in whatever space you are in, you have to narrow it down to something, one particular thing that is passionate about. If it's in Nigeria, for example, like I say, if it's media and whatever, is it about fake news? There has to be one particular thing that is bothering. It cannot be 3, 4, 5 things. You'll be all over the place. It has to be one thing. And you have to hook yourself around that thing and build a story around that thing. Nobody can write your story for you. You have to tell your story. Tell your story from your heart. Tell your story. Just say your story and say it in a very beautiful way. Go out and look for help. This is an official setting. I don't know whether this is safe to say, but look for other Chevening scholars to look at your essay for you. Nobody can write your essay for you. Nobody's going to write it for you. Write it yourself. Put in the work. Just put in that work. As Faith has said, everything is on that website. There are YouTube videos, like from these things we have said. Go out and look for help, okay? 1, 2, 3 scholars, no scholars, maybe other scholars from other whatever, but just look for help. And identify a pitch. Think about what you want to do. I thought about where I wanted to be maybe 10 years from now. I'm always thinking about that. I want to be in government, for example. For example, me, I just want to see myself inside government. I tell my friends, I have a couple of friends, they ask me, what do you want to be in the next 15 years? I say, I want to be a minister of the Federal Republic. I'm not joking about it. And I'm taking deliberate steps to get there. So it's not, I'm not beating around the bush. I know where I want to go to. So those are the kind of thoughts you have to have. And then how are you going to get there? What is the bridge? Okay, and then identify a pitch. And so for me, I think that was the trick for me. Don't ever stop trying. Just don't stop trying. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Gaya. So now I'll be handing over to Faith. What do you think you did differently during your time?
Hi guys, I've learned so much from you guys. It's been so inspiring listening to these amazing scholars and future ministers of the Republic of Nigeria. Anyways, so I actually jotted out some things now because I did not want to forget, because I had to really internalize it. And it's actually quite similar to what Gaya said. I applied twice. I applied back to back. So I think the first time was 2018 and the second time 2019. I was longlisted the first time, but even after submitting, reading my essays again, I kind of felt like, I don't think they're going to take this seriously. So what I want you to do is look at your application as a business plan pitch. And I feel like that's the difference in my first and second application. So in the first application, I looked at it as, oh, I've tried, I've done things, I need help. I've reviewed a couple of essays for scholars, and there is a lot of, I need help, help me. And you're not demonstrating the benefits that Chevening investing in you would have in your community. So what I would say is look at it as a business plan. And a business plan has 4 core aspects. I'm just going to talk about that very briefly. So a problem, like Said has said, what problem do you want to solve? So identify the industry you want to solve a problem in. Now, I don't believe that there's a specific industry. There was someone that asked a question about brand and advertising. It's more about the impact and the broader idea of it. So I feel like a lot of industries can be related to even finances and economic development. It's just about how you tie it into that. But the point is, what problem do you want to solve? So is there a lack of branding and advertising in the SME space in Nigeria? Is there a problem of poverty? I'm using the creative industry. What are the issues in the creative industry and how do you want to solve them? So that's the problem you're trying to solve. Now you have to demonstrate that it's really a problem, because the person reading it doesn't even know it's a problem. So throughout your essays, from your leadership, networking, studying the UK career plan, I feel like when they are done reading your essay, everything should tie together. So use statistics. One of the difference in my first application and second application is I use a lot of statistics with references. I let them know that I'm not just saying, I think there's a problem in this community. I demonstrated that there was a problem in the community. So even if the person has never heard of the problem or never heard of Nigeria, they were educated by my essays and my work. So I feel like you need to also put in the statistics part of it. And then also show them your competency. So anybody that's going to give you money for anything or invest in you must see that you've been investing yourself previously, or you've been attempting to do things. So it's not, oh, I feel like I want to solve this problem, but you've never tried. You've never even done something small, even if for one or two people. You don't have to have done something for 1,000 people. You can do something for as little as 10 people, but show how you've been trying to solve that problem. And so Chevening is not trying to invest in you just for you to just, oh, I feel like doing this thing, so give me free fees and I'm going to come back to Nigeria. No, I'm passionate about this problem. I've been working on it. By taking this course, I'm going to get better at it. And then your final pitch. So what is the ripple effect of the because a Chevening scholarship is not cheap. They're investing in your flights, they're investing in your admission, taking care of you for 1 year. You have access to a network. Do you understand the gravity of it? And what exactly do you want to do? So in your career plan, I feel like if your career plan is about you, that's also a problem. So it's just about, oh, I want to get a fancy degree, or, I want it to be able to help me to get a PhD so I can be the first PhD holder in my family. No. Think about what Chevening wants. Why are they doing this scheme? Understand it. They're trying to use you as partners for the future. So I feel like the biggest difference between the first time and the second time was the first time I was feeling a little helpless. Oh, save me, help me. I'm talented. Just give me, I know what I'm doing, just. But the second time I was like, I am phenomenal. I've been doing things. You need me as much as I need you. And we're going to do this together. We're going to change the world together. So come at it in that way. Like Joshua said, blow your trumpet. They need to know that when you get this investment, afterwards, you're still going to be doing the things that you said. And I feel like, yeah, so I think that was the difference between my first and my second application.
Okay, thanks, Faith. And all in one, I would like to say that don't downplay yourself. Don't minimalize the things that you've achieved. As Joshua said, there are some times that you say that, oh, it's just this small thing I've done. It's small. It's not really big. But the truth is that it's about writing well. So it's not just about knowing that you've done this thing. They must be able to see that you've done these things. And if you don't write well, nobody will be able to speak for you. And we'll be moving to our final question. I've been having a nice time since we started. And the final question is, I'll be starting with Joshua, actually. And the final question covers, what do you advise people that, have applied a number of times? What do you advise them to do? And another thing I would like to ask is, as this is the final question, what is that top tip? What do you want everybody listening to you on this call to take home with them as we're wrapping up?
So I would just like to say, Chevening is for everyone, whether you're from the north, whether you're from the south, the west, the east. I come from a very, very poor background. I don't hide it anymore. It's my identity. And Chevening made me realize that there are opportunities, there are things that are ahead of me, right? So I stand here before you. But before I left Nigeria, it was not going well, all was not going well. But now that I'm in the UK, I'm beginning to see that there are opportunities. So I mean it when I say Chevening is for everyone, regardless of your background, regardless of where you live, regardless of the hassles that you go through, just sort of like understand that there are opportunities outside. So go for it, push yourself, right? Do the hard work, and I pray that success belongs to you. Just to really answer the question as regards applicants that have been trying again, right? I believe that I would always like to give the scenario of a carpenter that has a hammer and a nail, right? Before you can put joints together, you need to consistently hit something before it can merge, right? It's the same thing as if your shoe, you're just running and all of a sudden, your sole of the shoe just pulls away. You have to find the, gum that can put everything together. What am I trying to say is consistency is king and capacity is also king, right? Sometimes the reason why we're not able to get the things we want is not because we don't have passion. Is because we don't have the capacity that is required at that stage. Meaning that there are some certain opportunities that you need to have the capacity to be able to deliver, right? Which is why it is not just anybody that can become the MD of GT Bank. It is not anybody that can become Okonji Wela. You have to be able to build capacity over time, which is why if you check lives of people, they have a track record. The question you should be asking yourself, what is your track record? What can people say about you? And let me not lie to you, it is people that invest in people. Sometimes it is not your essay that will work, it's the recommendation that will work for you. Meaning that it is people that have worked with you that can say, let's give him a chance. Do you get what I mean? So what I'm just trying to say is build capacity over time, right? Build connections, right? Recommendation. I would just say that just to share this, I know that I have a very, very short time. The person who wrote my recommendation letter for me in 2017, I worked for a company in 2017. And in 2017, when I worked for that company, I left the company and I went for NYC. When I was doing my Chevening interview in Lagos, the person who interviewed me, right, knew about the company and knew about the project I was working on when I was in that company. It was 2 years after I had left the company, but the person was from the UK. I was working in Nigeria, but the person knew about that project I was doing. God be so kind to me that that company that I worked for, I just burnt the bridges. I just became, I said they were not paying me. Things were not going well. I just burnt the bridges, meaning that the recommendation letter that I got from the CEO of that company, I wouldn't have gotten it, and I probably wouldn't have had a chance at achieving it. So what am I trying to say is, please don't burn bridges. I know that we are young people. I know that we're interested in international opportunities. I know that, yes, some of us have capacity, some of us have work experience, some of us are doing so great. But I beg you with the message of God, please don't burn bridges. Try and be humble, right? Ask questions, be humble. And, there's no limit to what you can do. I would just say, like, if you have been rejected, please keep trying again. You would always, you will make it. And I think your story is sweeter if you keep trying, right? So, yeah.
Thank you, Joshua. Samirah, what would you advise people like that? People that have been that got rejected before now. What would you advise that they do?
Okay. My advice would be, first, for every application season, a year passes. And within that year that passed, something has changed. You're not the same person. In fact, every second that passed, something changes. You're not the same person. Question you need to ask yourself is, if you're interested in something, the next year, what do you need to improve to get that thing? There is something called professional development and personal development. Personally, what do you need to achieve? Professionally, what do you need to achieve? What's your future goal? Because you cannot apply in 2016 and in 2017, you're telling the same story. It makes no sense. It means that whatever you want to go and study will not make sense, because if I invest in you, you come back, you still be in the same place, right? So for every year, you need to purposely improve yourself. You need to write things down and ask yourself, what have I not done that I think I need to do? So for example, I was given a networking question. Many people I've talked to about Chevening questions have never networked or don't know how to network, for example. So you can have a great leadership example. You can have a great career path. You can have a great, but maybe your networking aspect is not good. Use that 1 year to network, like purposefully network, because at the end of the day, a master's degree is a stepping stone to a career path. And a career path, for you to promote yourself in a career path, you need to do something. All what we are saying may sound like we are doing something, we are purposely doing something to get a scholarship. No, you're purposely doing something to get your future. You cannot sit down and expect your future to reach you. You did not go to university to sit down at home. You want to do a master's. In fact, if you want to do a master's and you want to do a course because you feel that is related to Chevening, Chevening thematic areas, and then you just want to do that course because you want to get a scholarship and say you have a master's degree. To me, you're wasting 1 year of your time. And in the future, that degree will be useless. And then you call yourself a Chevening scholar and then you say, what have you done with it? Like, of what use are you? To me, like, I feel that's very useless, right? So within that period that you want to retry, you need to ask yourself, do I really want to study? Maybe what I wrote before last year, maybe I was just writing and I was not so much passionate about it. Use that next year to discover yourself. Because, for example, me, when I applied previously, I didn't think of this course I wanted to do. I was thinking of international relations. right? But now today, I just thank God I did not go and study international relations because I don't see myself as an ambassador. I'm not patient enough. I'm not diplomatic enough. And then another thing I would say is many people think that for Chevening, if you didn't get it, maybe I didn't get it this year, you think, oh, maybe my grades were not good enough. I know somebody asked about lower grades or my, what's it called? I have a 2-2, a master's degree in a 2-2, and maybe you saw that people that you've heard of first class or something, or have a master's degree before or something. You need to ask yourself, it's not about your qualification, it's about your somebody said it's your track record, right? If you know that you don't have a first class or a what's it called? A first class, a strong degree, ask yourself, what else can you do to push yourself there? So to push yourself and make yourself unique also in your next application process. I can give myself an example. I don't really usually say it, but I'm going to give myself an example. I graduated with a, what's it called? A 2-2, right? And I'm here. And I knew that immediately I finished school and I thought of doing a master's, and I'm doing a master's abroad. I knew that my what's it called? My certificate was not going to carry me anywhere. So what's the other alternative routes, right? So every year that you're applying, in fact, even between your application process and the interview, is a long process. It's how many months? 6 months. You don't expect to. I believe that if you really want to do something for yourself and people around you in the future, you cannot remain the way you were last month or last 2 months or last year. To me, it doesn't sound okay. So if it's for you to volunteer, there's so many things for places for you to volunteer. If it's for you to intern, there's so many places for you to intern. Yeah. So I think that's what I would say about that.
Okay, thank you, Samirah. Our time is fast spent. Gaya, please, if you can just give us 2 minutes of what you advise people who have applied before and who got rejected.
Okay, thank you very much, Boma. And I think most of the comments have been made already and the remarks have been made. For me, my personal experience or my own personal opinion is that you're going to have far more rejections than you have acceptances. That is it. This is the reality of a young person who is struggling against every odd, who is struggling in this 21st century. Rejections, even I'm here studying on a master's degree at London School of Economics, and me and my friends are studying one of the best schools in the world. You put in for jobs and you get rejections. So you will get rejections, you will always get rejections, and then you have to develop thick skin to that rejection. So that personality of yours at that juncture, when you get the rejection, how you respond to it, really determines what's going to happen to you in the long term. If you feel like rejections throw you out, or you are down because of rejections, and then you don't go full throttle, or you don't keep going full throttle, then you never get anything. Chevening is a yearly thing. The questions don't change. If you don't get it this time, start preparation in earnest. Okay, you don't just wake up from the bed and just go and get Chevening. That's just the plain truth. You have to really prepare for it. You have to put in the work. You have to put in the research. You have to put in the time. For just like Joshua has said, is what. So I when I'm talking to some people about, there was a time I knew when schools open their admission dates, scholarships. At the time I got the Chevening scholarship, I applied to 12 other scholarships before I got two. I got 2, and I came to Chevening. So that's how all out I went. So at every point in time, I knew when the scholarships were opening, when they were closing. I had a calendar in my head like a woman who knew her menstrual cycle. That's how I was. That's how serious it was to me, and that's the level you have to get to. And so it's that serious, because just imagine you are Jeff Bezos and somebody comes to you and said he wants $5 million. I mean, he wants $5,000, for example. Are you just going to give $5,000 to somebody like that? Somebody has to really merit it. You have to merit it. So there is a lot of competition out there. You have to stand, and then you have to put a lot of work in it. Don't give up. You have to keep trying. You have to be very aggressive about it. You have to look for answer, look for help. Like I said, do not give up if you are rejected. just keep going at it. You have to keep trying. If you believe, like I said, it always seems impossible until it is done, but you will get it done by the grace of God. Okay. I wish each and every one of you success. I wish each and every one of you excellence as you go out there. Don't give up. You're a young person. Keep trying. It's not easy for young people. You have to earn it. Okay. And then I hope that the grace of God will be upon each and every one of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gaya. Thank you. That was really inspiring. So, I mean, everybody listening in the, in the comment section, all our attendees, do not give up, as our Chevening scholars have recommended. And finally, I'll be handing over to Faith. If you can just share your final tip and, your words of advice to people who have been rejected.
My amazing colleagues have said everything. Like anything I think I want to say, they've literally said it. But the thing is, I was rejected, so I know exactly how it felt. I cried, I was sad, I was depressed. And I feel like the first thing I need you to do is see Chevening as not the end of you. So don't see it as, once I get Chevening is my life goal, that's the only thing I want in this life, and you put your worth into it, because Chevening is your ladder to where you're going. So what should really be the priority is where you're trying to go to. So are you trying to touch that community? Are you trying to get to this particular level? Chevening is your tool to get there. Once you can do that, you can detach yourself emotionally from it. And so it makes dealing with the rejection easier. Now, the next thing I would say is research. So I feel like you need to actually realize that it's not a measure of your worth, and it's not a judge of how amazing or perfect you are, but more of what you're able to communicate in the application. So I feel like more rigorous research, like there's always something new to learn. There's always something new to do. So I watch a lot of YouTube videos. I recommend doing that. I attended seminars like this. I even investigated scholars pages, just checking what they're doing. And then beyond that as well, constant self-development. When I got rejected, it was creative writing I was trying to study. I'm currently studying creative enterprise. In the space of that 1 year, I changed, I grew as a person, and I'm so grateful that I did study the first course. Not that that course is bad or anything, but in that 1 year, I discovered more things. I worked harder. I did things, small things. I even did like a mini class. Like all of those things were things I was able to demonstrate to Chevening that it's not like I'm being this person for Chevening, but this is who I am. And, and I feel like that's what's really what's going to help you. So believe in yourself. Don't, it's not a test of your word. Trust me, you're amazing. It's just a case of the application system. And then allow yourself as well to try again. If I did not try immediately the next year, I would not be here today. So just try again. I was convinced I was not going to get it, but I just tried. Even at time of the application, I did not even apply to my first choice because I was like, they're not going to get me. But then I tried, and here I am today. So please, please try. You can do it. For the fact that you're here, you're amazing. You're putting in the effort. So just continue to, there's always something new to add. And yeah, I wish you all the best. And also, yeah, one last thing as well, because many people believe that you need scholars to get the scholarship. Yeah, it's good to have external opinion, getting them to review your essays and all of that. But sometimes they might not be available. At least I was not able to get somebody to read my essays, though I was able to ask questions and everything. But the research I did was also very useful to me. So even if you're not able to get a scholar, you can still get the scholarship regardless. I also wanted to point that out as well. So yeah. And I wish all of you good luck, and I can't wait to share your share your testimony. Yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you. I mean, this has been amazing. And my own final tip will be that you giving up is you doing yourself a disservice. So if you are saying that you're not going to try again, you're doing yourself a disservice. There is no harm in trying again. You should try again and keep improving yourself. And that will be the end of our panel discussion. Thank you all once again. I'll be handing over to Layo. Layo, over to you.
Thanks a lot, Boma, and thanks to Said, to Joshua, to Faith, and to Samirah. I mean, you have given us some explosive tips, and I'm certain that everyone here has learned something. I just wanted to say that there are quite a number of questions in the chat box, and we will be answering them. So the same email addresses that we sent the link to you, we will respond to all your questions. Just to also add that the scholarship scheme requires scholars to come back to Nigeria to stay for at least 2 years and actualize their career plan. You guys all talked about your career plan when you were applying for the scholarship. So we're looking forward to you coming back to do that. I just wanted to point out that this is not an opportunity to jackpot, as you all know. Some people are looking for that opportunity. Chevening is not for you then. The website, as everyone has said, has enough information out there. We can never digest the whole of Chevening in just 2 hours. So please take time and do your research. Build yourself, build your skills, try out the application process. You might not complete it this first time around, but it will give you an idea of the kind of questions they will be asking, but just put your best foot forward and keep trying. Finally, I'd just like to thank you all for taking time to join us today. Thank you for listening. You've been an awesome audience. I can see so many questions, as I said, but I assure you that we will be responding to each and every question here. Have a wonderful. Oh, Boma, we were talking about taking one photo. Is it possible for people to switch on their
Yes.
videos so we can take one big group picture? I don't know if we can do that.
I think we should be able to. So please, you can put on your video.
If you can just put on your video camera so that we can take one
Please.
beautiful picture with small heads and faces all over the place. Boma, how does it look on your screen? Mine doesn't have much in it.
I have just 6 pictures here. It seems like nobody's nobody's putting on their video.
Yeah, maybe it's not possible as well.
Yeah.
It's a webinar. Someone says we can't put it on. Okay. Sorry, guys.
Okay. So we'll just stick with the panelists then. Okay. So
all
please,
right.
can you smile for the camera while we do this? Ooh, nice. Okay.
Thank you very much, our attendees and our panelists. Wish you a very, very good weekend. Thank God it's Friday. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you for joining.
Bye. Thank you for joining.